Okay, today we're going to need 2 blocks. If you don't have blocks, grab a kitchen roll or something like that. You'll be absolutely fine. Okay, coming into a Hatha style class today. So holding our poses for a little bit longer, not focusing on the flow of the movement and breath so much, but really focusing on our form. So try to really work in and think about every single inch of the body and how it's working in conjunction with the other. Okay, starting off into closed knees, child's pose, so knees together, feet together. Start to sink the forehead down, reach the fingers out long. Already tune into the alignment of the hips here, so think about how the hips feel. Do they feel quite tight? Is it a bit of a struggle to sink the hips down to the heels? Are you swaying from one side or the other? How does your lower back feel? Every inhale, feel like you're expanding the sides and back of the ribs. Every exhale, think about sinking the hips down slightly further towards those heels. Inhale, reaching the fingers forward. Exhale, sinking further into the mat. Take 3 more deep inhales all the way to the back of the ribs. And refreshing exhales, sighing any areas of tension out. Once you've come to the end of that final breath, really slowly start to walk yourself all the way up to seated. Seating on your knees or cross-legged, whatever's comfortable for you. Absolutely, you put a block under that sit bone. Absolutely sit on a block, however makes you comfortable. If this is really tight for your knees, sit cross-legged or just come back to child's pose. Coming into some seated cat-cows now, taking our hands, interlacing them behind our head. Big inhale, take the elbows out wide, gaze up. Stick your bum out, tilt that pelvis back. Exhale, cat. Really tucking that tailbone under now. Dropping the elbows together, chin down to the chest. Inhale, cow, take the gaze up, separate those elbows. Exhale, cat, really come to the final bit of your exhale. Inhale, cow, gaze up, tip that pelvis forward. Final cat, draw the elbows together. Really hang your neck. Inhale all the way up, release those hands. Big side stretch, taking that left hand up and over, right hand down. Keeping this chest nice and open so you're not rolling that right shoulder, left shoulder in. Breathing here. Inhale all the way over to the other side. Inhale, come all the way back up. Grab your blocks, coming into a low lunge now. So blocks can come at the front, bring your right foot forward. Thinking about this alignment of your knee and your ankle, remember bone on bone is the strongest part. Sinking this left hip down to the ground, opening up that hip flexor. Keeping nice and lifted, hence why we're using our blocks. Absolutely, if you can keep lifted, going down to a lower setting, keeping that back nice and straight, pulling this chest through, you go for it. Think about these hips being in line. You might want to put your right thumb in your right hip crease and just pull your hip back so that you've got the alignment, so you're not on a diagonal, like I am now, you're pulling those hips back so they're more in line with one another. You're almost bringing your hips into that central line of your body. Staying here, continuing with that nice deep breath. Placing your left hand down either on a block or the floor. Big inhale, easy twist. Right hand comes up. Think about spinning the left rib cage round to the right. Reaching that right hand up to the sky. Shoulder blades drawing towards one another. Keep breathing here. Exhale, release all the way back down, grabbing those blocks, starting to walk the weight back, coming into half splits, straightening up through this front leg, absolutely bending the knees, fine, flexing those right toes, folding over this front leg, but with our hips, so bending at our hips rather than bending with our back. Keeping that chest nice and open. Keep thinking about this right hip. Again, you can put that thumb in that right hip crease, pulling that right hip back in alignment with the left. Inhale all the way forward, switching over to the other side. Bringing your left foot up this time. Setting yourself up, thinking about that knee and ankle alignment. Sinking in here, right hip sinking down. Thinking about this left hip, making sure it's in line with the right. Walking this right knee ever so slightly further back if you've got space to continue sagging that right hip flexor down to the ground. Right hand planted down onto the ground or onto your block. Big inhale, easy twist. Left hand comes up. Shoulder blades drawing together. Spinning the right rib cage round to the left this time. Really pushing the mat away with that right hand, keeping nice and lifted. Keep that chest open, spinning round to the left. Exhale all the way back, grab those blocks. Start to walk those blocks back for that half split, flexing the left foot. Straightening up that left leg, absolutely work to a bit micro bend in the knee. Making sure this left hip is in line with your right. Keeping that chest nice and open. Final inhale here. Exhale, walk all the way forward. Take this left foot straight back to your all fours. Blocks to the side. We're going to be using one block in a minute. From your all fours, very slowly push up to our downward dog. So hands are spread, fingers are spread nice and widely. Index fingers are parallel. Inhale, brace yourself. Activate that core. Ever so slightly tuck that pelvis. Draw the belly up to your spine. Push the mat away so you can separate your shoulder blades before we even start moving. And on your exhale, push all the way up, keeping that activation of the core. Keep pushing the mat away. Externally rotating those shoulders so you're drawing those shoulders away from your face. That's going to help you separate the shoulder blades. Really drawing this belly in. Absolutely bent knees, heels off of the ground. Drive those hands into the ground, pushing through that index finger knuckle. Drawing your thumbs towards one another, that's going to help that separation of the shoulder blades. Hang that head gaze through the middle of your feet. Now double check that you can't see your heels. If you can see your heels, you just need to internally rotate your thighs towards one another and then to the back of the mat. Final inhale here. Exhale, gaze forward, bend those knees a lot. Big step forward, or lots of little steps to the top of the mat, toes touching, heels apart, forward fold. Chest resting onto the thighs, bend those knees a lot. Breathing here in this forward fold, hanging our head. Final big inhale. Exhale. Inhale, super slowly roll all the way up through to standing, through every vertebrae, head being the last thing to come up. Okay, grabbing one of your blocks, this is when the fun begins. Coming into chair pose with our blocks. Now it's really important for us here to be doing this exercise to feel this work of the inner thighs and to feel if we're going internal or external rotation of our feet. So if you always go like this with your feet, or you always roll to the inside, so we can get really nice square hips. So you're going to place your block lengthways in between your thighs. Pull your feet as close as they can come together, so it's probably just underneath those hips. Toes facing straight forward. Now in mountain pose, which we are now in our standing pose, already feel like you're grounding all four corners of the feet into the mat. And notice where the tendency is to roll those feet, because that's going to say a lot for our glute strength as well. We want our glutes, our inner thighs, our hip flexors all working in conjunction rather than one of them being stronger. Pull these knees up to activate your thighs, activate those glutes. Now the other thing I want you to try and identify here is whether you've got an anterior tilt, that your hips stick backwards, your bum sticks out, or a posterior tilt where your bum hunches under like so, because this is going to be very relevant for our chair pose. Message me if you're not sure. If you have a sticking out bum, your cue is going to be to tuck your tailbone under. If you've got a posterior tilt where your bum is coming under already, the key here is to try and get a neutral spine. So in our mountain pose now, you really want to try and feel your thighs are engaged and your hip flexors are open. So here your hip flexors are closed. We want them to be nice and open. So you really try to straighten up this back, open your chest. Next, inhale, coming into our chair pose, sinking that bum down, hands going straight up. Think about whether you've got your sticky out bum or your bum tucked under. Sticky out bums, hip bones drawing towards your face, everyone's core is active. If you've already got this sticky out bum and you're like so, you really want to work towards a straightening up of this back, pulling this heart through, working towards a neutral spine. A neutral spine's still got that gentle curving. Can you see your toes? If not, take that weight back. Are your thighs pulling that block together like the block is going to break? Sink that bum down. Keep those hands up, biceps by your ears. Keep working. Remember, a pose only starts when we want to come out of it, so we've got a little bit of time here. Keep working those thighs. Keep grounding all four corners of the feet. Wiggle your toes, that's going to help you check to see if the weight is balanced in those heels. Sticky out bum people, keep pulling those hip bones up. Sticky under bum people, keep opening up that chest. Final inhale. Exhale, come all the way back up. Keeping that block there. We're going to do one more time with the block and then once without. Breathing here. Inhale, drop all the way back, chair pose. Do you need that pelvis to tuck under if you've got that sticky out bum? Do you need to open up that chest? Where is your weight? Is your core engaged? The list goes on, right? Final inhale. Exhale, come all the way back up. This time, remove your block. Now, if it's comfortable for your hips, take your toes touching heels apart. If not, continue with that parallel feet, hips width distance apart, but everyone, thighs pulling in. Inhale, drop all the way down, hands up. Keep thinking that there's that block in between those thighs. Drawing those knees together. The other thing that's going to be really helpful here, almost think like your bum is squeezing into this midline. It's not going to, but you're activating it, so you're thinking about lifting everything towards this central line of your body, keeping nice and lifted and light. This is our last one, guys. Final inhale. Exhale all the way up. Take any moves that you feel like you need. You might want to come into a nice forward fold. You might want to take some twists. Inhale all the way up if you're in that forward fold. Coming into our high lunge now. Taking our left leg straight back. Our feet are still about hips width distance apart. Thinking about hip alignment here still, making sure the two fronts of the hips, these bones, are facing forward. Sticky out bum people, if you straighten that back leg, you might end up getting too much of an arch in this back. Bend that back leg. Pull everything in, core drawing towards the spine, hands all the way up. Make sure that front knee isn't over the toes. It's in line with the ankle or slightly behind. Activate these glutes so much, especially this left glute. We want to strengthen these glutes to help us with our internal and our external rotation of our hips, getting towards that neutral spine, neutral pelvis. Really use your breath to settle in here. Final inhale. Exhale, come all the way forward. Back to your mountain pose. Take some movement if you need. Onto the other side. Right foot straight back, hips width distance apart. Think about both glutes firing. Bending this right leg ever so slightly, hands all the way up. Core engaged. Are your hips square to the front of the mat? Are they level? Don't be afraid to literally put your hands on your hips to check. Because the more awareness we have of our bodies, the easier it's going to be able to tune into your bodies throughout the day. Feel those feet like they're pulling in towards one another. That's also going to help for this lift and buoyancy, so you're not feeling really heavy into your mat. Final inhale. Exhale, come all the way forward. Any movement you feel like you need. Okay, grab both of your blocks. Just set them in front, the front part of your mat. Coming into a pyramid pose now. So we're going to be taking our left foot straight back. Not as wide of a stance as your high lunge. Your left toe is at that 45-degree angle pointing towards the front of the mat. And rather than twisting this left hip back, you really want to pull both hips to the central line facing forward. We're now going to be folding over, but we're folding from our hips. So don't fold like this and fold from your shoulders. Put your hands on your hips to feel the creases of your hips folding before your chest even starts to go down. So big inhale, activate, pull these thighs towards one another, pull the feet towards one another, make sure both legs are working as much as one another. Left glute is firing. Exhale, tilt from the hips. Come all the way down to where you comfortably can. You've got your blocks in front of you. Keep pulling this right hip back. That is going to be the hip that comes forward. So put your thumb in that hip crease, pull it back. Are your hips in line? Put your hand on your hips. Really work through this back leg and left leg, pull that thigh up. That's easy to go soft, so keep focusing on that one. Keep this chest nice and open. Keep thinking about length of the spine on the inhale. And exhale, think about folding at the hips rather than folding with those shoulders first. You're almost pulling your heart through. Keeping those hips square, you're going to have to keep adjusting yourself as you start to get into this pose. Keep drawing those feet towards one another for that lightness, that buoyancy. Final inhale. Exhale, come all the way back up. Blocks stay where they are, up to standing. Really great to stretch out those hamstrings. That helps us work towards a nice neutral spine. If the hamstrings are really short, that pulls us into that posterior tilt as well. When you're like this, your bum's under. Okay, ready for the other side, taking that right foot back. Again, slightly shorter stance, heels in line, right foot, 45-degree angle. Already think about these hips being square, so you're going to have to pull this left hip back. Activate this right leg, glutes are working. Hands on those hips so we can check that it's bending from the hips. Inhale, really lift. Exhale, start to fold from those hips. Grab those blocks. Pull the left hip back in alignment. Are your hips square? Put your hand on that lower back. Make sure you're working that right leg as much as the left, pulling that thigh up. Drawing those feet towards one another. Core is engaged. Try to smile as well, hey? I'll give that as a cue. Can you fold even more by lengthening on your inhale, folding at your hips at the exhale, keeping those hips in line. Final inhale. Exhale, super slowly, come all the way back up. Right foot comes to meet the left at the top of the mat. Put those blocks to one side. Just letting that sensation come back into our standing, feeling nice and grounded here. Coming into our warrior two now, so stepping our left leg straight back. Hips are in line, wider stance than our pyramid. As wide a stance that if you could, you don't have to, if you could, your knee would be in line with your ankle, it wouldn't be over. Left foot straight out to the side, glutes are firing. Tuck that pelvis ever so slightly. Think about if you've got that sticky out bum. If you have already got a sticky out bum, think about opening that chest. This is the stickler. Inner thigh needs to be working, right glute needs to be firing to get this right knee outside of that right foot rather than dropping in. Left hip, think about this externally rotating to the back of the room. Hands out. Shoulders square to the left side of the mat. Gaze over to that right hand. Work those feet. Everything I've said for the other standing poses still counts. Draw these feet towards one another. Think about that buoyancy here. Grounding that outside edge of that left foot really strongly into the mat. That's why you're going to have to use the glutes to work all the way down. Stay with it. Use that breath as your powerhouse. Keep everything contained, keep your rib cage contained. So think about these lower ribs. Uncontained would be that you're flaring them out. Contained, you're pulling them in and down. Final big inhale. Exhale, super slowly come back to the top of the mat. Grounding back here, come back to your breath. Other side, right foot straight back. Heels in line, right foot straight out to the side. Think about that stance. Not the worst thing in the world to not have that knee bent. Pelvis ever so slightly tucked under if you're a sticky out bum person. Hands up wide. Inner thigh firing, right glute firing, knee to the outside edge of that left foot. Grounding the outside edge of that right foot into the mat. Pulling both heels together to feel light and lifted. Squaring the shoulders to the right side of the mat. Keeping that chest nice and open. Think about that right hip externally rotating, so rotating away from your body towards the back of the mat. Containing that rib cage. Relaxing those shoulders, relaxing your face. Final inhale here. Exhale super slowly back to the top of the mat. Any extra movements you need. Big inhale, take the hands up, gaze up. Exhale, fold all the way over, feet slightly wider than hips width. Hang here in your ragdoll. Head hanging, hands hanging down. Relaxing that neck, shaking the head, nodding the head. Placing the hands down, stepping straight back in our all fours for a moment, setting up for our final downward dog. Fingers spread nice and widely. Inhale, start to push the mat away, so you're doming that back already. You're tucking your bum ever so slightly under. Core is engaged. On your exhale, really push those hips up to the sky. Weight slightly back. Head hanging. Knees bent, heels off the floor, go for it. Ground through the index fingers. Don't lift them off of the ground. Externally rotate those shoulders, they're going away from your face. Core is engaged. Final inhale here. Exhale all the way back, down through your all fours. Swing those legs all the way around to the front of the mat. Coming into a forward fold here. Absolutely, it can be a supported forward fold. So grab your blocks, feet flex towards you. Set up your blocks so that you can put your forehead on there nice and comfortably. And just start to walk those hands forward. And rest your head
A rounded back is absolutely a-okay here. Really relax, a nice passive stretch. We've done a lot of active stretching today. Really feel that breath going to the back and sides of the ribs. Feel your forehead get heavier and heavier. Final inhale. Exhale, remove those blocks.
Now, if you do need to sit on one of your blocks because you're a sticky underbum person and you end up like this, grab one of your blocks and just put it under your sit bones so that you can sit nice and tall. Left leg long, right leg up and over, coming into a nice twist, taking your left hand to meet the right outside of that thigh, right hand behind you. Big inhale to lift the crown, exhale to twist. Keep spinning that left rib cage round to the right. Keep lengthening up that head. Exhale, come all the way back. Switching onto the other side, right leg long, left leg up and over. Right hand to meet the outside of that left thigh. Left hand behind. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, twist. Keep nice and tall. Spinning the right rib cage round to the left. Final inhale. Exhale all the way back. Remove that block. Coming down to lying onto our backs, really slowly sink yourself all the way down. Just coming into our reclined butterfly. If this is comfortable for you, take the soles of the feet together, knees out, fall out wide to the side. If this is too much for that inner groin, take your feet to the outside edges of the mat and drop your knees in. One hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. Starting to feel that heaviness come back to us as we're coming to the end of our practice. As heavy as we felt at the beginning in our child's pose. Feeling that belly and that chest rise on your inhale. Falling on your exhale. Coming into a half happy baby, taking that left leg long, bending this right knee into our chest. Grabbing hold of the outside of that right foot with your right hand, flexing the right toes, driving that right heel up to the sky, drawing your right knee into your armpit, just slightly to the side of your chest. Absolutely fine to grab hold of the calf, grab hold of the hamstring. Keep grounding this left hip into the ground. Both shoulders drive into the ground, so we really want to flatten as much of the back down as possible. Keep breathing. Exhale, switch over to the other side, bending that left knee up. And when you're ready, come into that half happy baby. Flexing the left toes, driving them up to the sky. Drawing that left knee into your left armpit, shoulders pushing into the ground. Final inhale. Exhale, fully release any extra movements you need before you come into your Shavasana. When you're ready, join us here, feet as wide as the mat, hanging out to the side, hands just beside your body, not touching, palms facing up. Close down those eyes. Let everything feel really heavy into the mat, sinking down. Relaxing your jaw, the space behind your eyes, and especially those hips. Trying to focus throughout our day on how our hips feel. Are they in line? Are you using one more than the other? Feeling that belly rise and fall. Bringing you calmer and calmer with every breath. If you can stay in Shavasana, please do. If not, start to bring some movement back into your body. Big morning stretch. Knees bent. Roll over to one side using that arm as a pillow. Push all the way up to seated, keeping those eyes closed. Once you get back to your seated position, hands on your thighs, palms face up. Just settle back down here. We've tuned into our body so much today. A real work in. So well done, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. When you're ready, start to open the eyes.